species. I think they are. And as soon as you jump with the goalkeeper, they give a foul, whether it is or it isn't. And it sounded like it wasn't a foul, so that could have gone Leicester's way as well. So many things could have gone differently for the club today, but I think that's what happens. You know, the boys there, they'll know what I mean when I say this. When you're down the bottom, when you're in that bottom three, albeit right at the start of the season, sometimes things just don't go for you. And I just felt the little tiny bits of luck, Dan, that you need in football to win a game. It just didn't go for Leicester today. And that, you can point at many things, and Brendan will and can, but sometimes if the luck is not with you, there's not a lot you can do about it. I mean, it was a wicked deflection for Sterling's first goal, and Leicester just didn't get that little bit of luck at the other end.
Tony, I'll come back to you in just a moment and ask you for your the best player in your opinion in Leicester's colours. So I'll let you have a little think about that as I go to Jerry, and just say, do you think that sometimes it's a bit of a cop out, maybe saying the luck wasn't on Leicester's side? But I think Tony's spot on, isn't it? There were so many instances where it just didn't quite go Brendan Rodgers' side as well.
Yeah, but you make your own luck. With the first goal, Raheem Sterling makes his own luck because he gets a half a yard and he has a shot. There's a question mark whether or not Dan Amati should be a little bit tighter to him when he gets turned. But that can be debated here and there. But you make your own luck, and obviously that ball could have went anywhere, could have went over the bar, could have deflected away. So there is an element of luck, but there's an old saying that you make your own luck in those situations by being positive, by getting a half a yard, and by trying to have a shot. And it's just unfortunate for Leicester that the ball ends up in the back of the net. And then Chelsea, as I said, their backs to the wall, we're scrapping for everything. So you watch some of the recovery runs, especially, for Maspilicueta in particular. There's a challenge he makes inside the box. He's about 25 yards away from where he makes the challenge. But as soon as the ball goes in behind him, the first thing he's doing is sprinting back towards his own goal to try and help in any way possible. And in the end, he makes a great challenge near the byline to make sure that Leicester, can't capitalise on a through ball and getting them behind Chelsea. So that's the impetus and the momentum that going in front gives you, especially when you're down to 10 men. And knowing that somehow you have to cling on when you've just conceded a goal, which they did do to Harvey Barnes. So they had that added impetus and that added momentum not to let Leicester go down. So yeah, you have to work that little bit harder, even though you have the extra man. And you see again, Leicester still created chances. The chance that hit the bar from Perez, I mean, it's difficult, Dan, because I thought Leicester really pushed and tried. It wasn't, and they were, as Tony said, it wasn't their day. But I think you have to give Chelsea credit because they made it very, very difficult because they had that 2-goal advantage.
I think that the Perez one, that was almost sums up the luck that Leicester maybe didn't have. Obviously, firstly, hitting the crossbar, it then bounced down, must have been near the goal line, it then bounced up. There were two Leicester players there, one Chelsea defender. It just happened to land on the Chelsea defender's head.
Yeah, fortune favoured Chelsea in that instance, didn't it? I sort of mentioned at half time that Leicester couldn't be too disappointed with how things had fared in the first half. Obviously, the penalty decision or penalty claim with Tielemans there, but being ruled out because Havertz was offside. But they were unlucky with the Mendy Barnes incident direct from the corner, so probably balanced itself out a little bit there. But in the second half, but I have to agree with Jerry. He's saying you make your own luck, don't you, by being precise and concise with your play and the execution at vital moments. Yes, it was unfortunate from Leicester's point of view there on another day, and it sort of sums up Perez's time over recent months or recent times at the club. It doesn't just quite go his way. Decent enough strike, I'm not sure if it was deflection, maybe a fingertip save, maybe neither, I'm not sure, I don't know. It was minimal touch if at all, but it's banged off the crossbar and falls into the path of Chelsea defender. Like you said, you've got two Leicester players bearing down on it. But you just got to keep persevering, haven't you? Keep plugging away, and hopefully the tide will turn. Within the game itself today, it didn't, but over the course of the next few games, hopefully it will, because Leicester aren't playing shockingly bad. They're not getting turned over. Greater, with good reason, because they had the extra man today, but at Stamford Bridge, greater share of possession. That's no mean feat in itself. Over 2 times the amount of shots. I think 2-3 times as many corners, whatever. More clear-cut opportunities, etc. But just those crucial moments, it just came up a little bit short at both ends of the pitch. And today, I think it would be wholly unjust if there's too much criticism levelled at them. Although you can understand some frustration, the fact that they didn't beat 10 men. But then that again, in turn, shows the quality that Chelsea have. Would Leicester be able to compete against Chelsea with 10 men for the best part of an hour or whatever it was? Probably over an hour, was it? Questionable, especially away. If it was the same situation. But Chelsea weren't at their best today, but they've got enough about them. There's reasons why those players play for Chelsea, even when they're not at their best playing fluent football. They've got many attributes, and they showed that today. Leicester just didn't quite have enough to turn them over, did they?
Tony, you've had a bit of time to have a think about who impressed you the most in Leicester's colours today. Who have you gone for?
Well, it was a couple of decent performances, Dan. I think obviously Harvey Barnes needs a mention. He took his goal really well. I thought he worked hard without it quite happening for him. I thought Castagna was decent as well. I kept saying all the space was down the right-hand side, and he seemed to be involved in a lot of what was going on. And a little praise for Iheanacho as well, because I think when he came on, he certainly made a difference. There was more options up front, and I just like the way he tries to make things happen. But I mentioned it in commentary, and for me, the man who was the most influential Leicester player was Tielemans. I think he was involved in everything that pretty much went on in the game. He was getting more and more off the ball, trying to make things happen. I don't think there was too many outstanding performances, and I hope if he was taken off at the end just to change it, that's fair enough, but I hope he's not injured when he went off the field of play. But I felt he got better as the game was going on, Tielemans, and certainly the man of the match performance for me.
Thank you, Tony. And we'll stick with you, obviously, from a forwards point of view. Let's talk about Jamie Vardy. Obviously, he'll be disappointed in himself. I'm sure that he wasn't able to put one of those chances away, particularly maybe the one that he was through one-on-one with Mendy. You think it was the right decision to try and go around the goalkeeper?
Yeah, I think it was, Dan. Yeah, I mean, it probably wouldn't have helped the one in the first half, because that was, he made a fantastic run, and he just seemed to... One of the things that Jamie doesn't normally do, he just seems to snatch at the first one, and he sort of dragged the shot wide. It wasn't on target, didn't really get hold of it. And the problem you have as a forward is that once you get that one chance that happens like that, and then it just puts a tiny little question mark in your mind if you then get a similar chance. And of course, when he's gone through in the second half, you have that split second. He done really well, Jamie, just to get to the ball, to get to poke the ball in front of Trevor Chalobah. He now knows he's 1v1. No one's going to catch him, and you have that split second to think to yourself, right, what do I do? Am I gonna strike it early? And why I'm saying this is because I think the one in the first half where he struck it early, it might have just put in his mind, I'm not going to hit this one early. I'll just assess the situation, and then he decided to go round the goalkeeper. But by doing that, he just pushed the ball a little bit too wide, and it's hard when you're on the run, full pelt. The goalkeeper's still sort of in play, even though he'd gone round the goalkeeper. You've got to try and wrap your foot around it. We've seen Jamie do it many, many times before, and probably score from more acute angles than the one he's missed there. But again, not get it on target, to hit the side netting. I'm guessing that he'll be sitting in that dressing room now, and he'll be shaking his head thinking, it just wasn't my day today. It's horrible, Dan, but unfortunately, as a centre forward, you have games like that where whatever you do, you just, you come off the pitch and think, oh, well, I've got to stay out here all night. He could have been out here now, like I am, looking down on an empty field of play, no one on the pitch, and you feel like you still wouldn't have scored. And you just have games like that, But I'm not going to criticise him too much. He's been a fantastic player for Leicester, scored lots of goals. It just wasn't his day today.
And for that reason, Jerry, that's probably why there is so much surprise that he wasn't able to put at least one of those chances away. I think when he was through on goal, most Leicester fans, albeit they're at the other side of the pitch there at Stamford Bridge, would have thought goal, surely.
I'm sat here thinking, go. He's got to put one away. So, and Tony knows better than anybody. You know, Tony knows when it's not your day. Unfortunately, it's not your day. But it wasn't for the want to try. And it was good for Jamie to see Jamie staying on the pitch right till the end and still motoring down the centre of the pitch. You know, offhanding a big, strong centre half in Chalobah. And just unfortunate, like Tony described it well, he just couldn't really wrap his foot around that ball to get it inside the near post. But it's hard to criticise the lads' head. I thought the lads gave a really good performance today. And that final little bit of icing on top of the cake just didn't come off. But, you know, there's plenty of positives to take out of that performance. Yes, they're down to 10 men. They just need to sort out defensively just those little mistakes that lead to conceding goals. And they're not far away from winning the first game, that is for sure. So, and I'm sure Brendan Rodgers realises that, and his staff. But the performance levels, I thought today were very, very good indeed.
That is one thing you can say today, Jerry. There's no real cause for huge concern, huge panic after today's result.
Well, it was a bit like back in, was it 2014-15, I think, when Leicester went up and they were struggling all the way till the back end of the season. They were getting beat, but they were only getting beat by the odd goal. And this sort of reminds me of that. You know, the performances are good. They've scored in every game. They're missing a couple of key players still. Obviously, with Madison being out today. But the performance levels are good. They look to me like they're all pushing and fighting in the right direction, which obviously is a positive. You take out a lot, especially if you're the manager and the coaching staff. And I'm sure that Brendan Rodgers will be scratching his head thinking, have we not scored at least 2 goals, probably more in this game today? He'll be looking back at that disallowed goal from Harvey Barnes from the set piece, from the corner. And we could talk about 5, 6, possibly 7 goal scoring opportunities that Leicester had. And again, whether it's down to 10 men or not, if you're creating that amount of opportunities away at Stamford Bridge, then you're doing something right.
That's kind of echoing what we're saying, Matt, isn't it? It's just the frustration that there were enough chances created, there were enough moments that on another day, if Leicester create that many chances on Thursday, you suspect they'll get 2 or 3 goals against Manchester United.
Well, you'd like to think so by the law of averages, but they've got to put in another performance on Thursday night. Man United, obviously gathering themselves a little bit, aren't they? Picked up 2 wins on the trot now, so they're going to be stiff opposition, of course, as you would expect. But it's not an unmanageable task, is it? They've gone there today against Chelsea. Performed reasonably well, like we've said. Didn't quite get the rub of the green. Couldn't finish the situations when it really mattered. But the general play, more than decent. And then, if they can repeat something of that sort of level against Man United, they'll have more than a good chance, won't they? At home, King Power, great atmosphere, there always is. Leicester have done well against Man U on numerous occasions of late. In not so distant times, and it's another big occasion. The players have just got to stay strong mentally, haven't they? They can't let things get them down. On the face of it, it doesn't look very good, does it? 4 games, just a 1 point, sitting second bottom of the table, but it's still very early, isn't it? It's still very early. A couple of wins, and then all of a sudden you're in the top half. So there's nothing to panic about. And like I say, it's not a case of them they're getting turned over or rolled over and they're capitulating in games. Quite the opposite. They're right in there with those matches for large parts of those games. Even against Arsenal to a degree, conceding the goals that they did.
At the times that they did,
hurt them. Yeah, exactly, hurt them ultimately. But don't get me wrong, Arsenal were the better side on the day. But there's not too much wrong. I'm pretty confident of that. But we can say that as often as we want, as much as we want. but results need to come as well, don't they? And the players will be aware of that, and they were giving it their all on Thursday.
Yeah, you suspect that there'll be very much disappointment, Tony, in that away dressing room at Stamford Bridge right now, but they'll also be saying to each other, listen, we played well today, we deserved something out of the game, let's take that momentum, that confidence into Thursday.
Yeah, if you'd have come to the game as a neutral today, and you would have watched, forget how Chelsea played, if you'd have watched the Leicester City performance, then and if you was then asked after the game, where do you think Leicester are in the league at the moment? And I know it's early days, but you certainly wouldn't say they're down there in the bottom three at the moment, because it wasn't that sort of performance where you look at it and think, oh, you know, they don't look like scoring, you know, they're conceding goals and they're all over the place, because we've seen performances like that from many teams over the years, but you don't get that feeling at the moment from Leicester. Yeah, of course, I mentioned the word luck, and you've got to make your own luck. I agree with the boys. But there's not too much wrong at the moment. They just need the 3 points. There's no doubt about that. You need to get that first win. You need someone like Jamie Vardy to get his goal, because we know that's important for everyone as well. All those sort of things sort of contribute. But they're not far away, Leicester, and I'm sure Brendan would have stood up in that dressing room and said a lot of positives. You know, negative wise, I think you just, with both the goals, perhaps they just switched off a little bit defensively, just for a split second. You know, it wasn't horrendous defending, but I think they did switch off a bit, and it's cost them. And you know, when you're chasing, even against 10 men, you know, 2-0 down, you're chasing. It's very difficult to chase a game. But I honestly believe there was a lot of positives today. You know, I enjoyed the performance in many respects, what they did. But I said about that final ball, I just think the final ball just let them down a little bit. If I could be really, really hypercritical, I just think sometimes the crossing wasn't as good as it should have been. The finishing certainly wasn't as top as it could have been. I've already spoke about that. And just pure stats, if you look at the corners they had, I mean, there's probably a long time since Leicester have had 10, 11 corners at Stamford Bridge, and probably about 5 or 6 of them didn't even get past the first man. So that's something else they can look at.
Thank you very much for your company this afternoon, Tony Cotty.
Cheers, boys.
We'll see you on Monday for Extra Time. Very final thoughts, though, can go to Jerry Taggart. Jerry, looking surprised at me there, Jerry, that I was coming to you as we said goodbye to Tony down there in London. Yeah, final thoughts. As we've already said, as we've already touched upon, hopefully the lads can take confidence from that, albeit a defeat, the way that they played into Thursday against Manchester United.
Yeah, I think, you know, ultimately, listen, I was a defender, so I'll always look at that first, right, and try and pinpoint where mistakes were made, high goals were conceded. But I have to say, overall, a really positive performance. I think things are slowly but surely and hopefully getting better for the team. And there's lots of positives to take out of today. There really is. I thought, as a group of players, you know, they didn't, after going 2-0 down, they went on the front foot. They came for Chelsea. So lots of positive. They created umpteen opportunities. Okay, they didn't take them, but you've still got to create them. If you're not creating them, then you have a bigger issue. So there's an opportunity leading up to Thursday night of putting that right. And so that fills me with a modicum of joy and hope moving into Thursday night. And so that's a good thing as a defender.
Thank you very much, Jerry. You'll also be on Extra Time alongside me, Ewan Roberts and Tony Cotty on Monday evening at 6 o'clock. So do join us for that. Matt's got a bank holiday Monday off, haven't you, Matt? So you'll enjoy that. Thank you very much to everybody who has joined us and tuned in this afternoon. Unfortunately, it is another defeat. But green shoots hopefully heading into that game on Thursday, which as ever you can follow on Matchday Live. We'll be on from 7. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great weekend. Bye.